Hi, Martin.
Hello, John.
It's so good to see you. For those who are watching at home on their phones, my name is Father John Beadle. I'm the senior pastor of All Saints here in Conroe and in the Western Gulf Coast. And I met Bishop Martin. We came together at sort of a 3 week long retreat with the Anglican Leadership Institute in South Carolina. And we became quick, fast friends. And we have since had Bishop Martin to our church to come and talk to our people about the incredible work that he is doing in the Diocese of Goma, there in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so, in case you haven't noticed from his accent or his complexion, he is not Congolese. So, this is a very interesting story. And so, Bishop Martin, thank you for being here and taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, can you speak to how you got there? I mean, quickly give us the rundown. I mean, how you end up being the bishop of this diocese in this foreign country that you were neither born in or raised in.
Yeah, thanks, John. I mean, it's a very long story. I'll cut it short, but I sensed from a young age, particularly kind of from university, that I wanted to minister in French-speaking Africa.
Mm,
So I did French at university. I'd done it at school. And my faith really took off at university. And before I met my wife, we were already thinking separately that we would maybe someday come back to French-speaking Africa. Got
mm,
married, we had kids, and I was ordained. And we were always wondering when.
mm,
And so after I'd done a curacy and then I'd done 6 years as in my first parish, we
mm,
thought that was good time. We hooked up with CMS, Church Mission Society.
mm.
We had 3 kids by then, and my wife works in international development. So essentially, we did actually take out a map of the world, honed in on French-speaking Central Africa, and wondered with the Lord where He might be calling us. And we had
Wow.
certain criteria. We needed schools for the kids. We needed work for my wife. We needed
Mm,
Anglican presence, and we needed some semblance of security, which we had at the time and don't really have anymore. And then I contacted CMS, and they contacted the Bishop of Goma. I
mm.
wrote to him one Tuesday evening and said, "Look, you don't know me, but we feel called." He wrote back Wednesday morning saying, "No spaces here."
Wow.
Wrote back Wednesday lunchtime saying, "I've made a couple of phone calls, and when can you start?" So he'd actually phoned the Bishop of Aru, which is further north. And I'd
Wow.
done a placement when I was at theological college. I'd done a placement in Congo with the Bishop of Aru, who's now Archbishop. And after having done that placement, uh, wondered if the Lord might call us back. My wife
Mm,
had worked for Tear Fund Anthea, and she had set up Tear Fund's office in Congo. And
mm,
so it seemed like
mm.
the right time
Yeah.
and the right place.
But you arrive and you're like, okay, we've somehow, by God's grace, everything is aligned perfectly to the exact specification of what we're looking for. We're excited. You get to Rwanda, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
So we leave the day that COVID, or the week that COVID shuts down the world. So we had to already reroute our flight, and then we
Hmm.
landed in Rwanda. So you can drive from Rwanda to Eastern Congo in 4 hours from Kigali.
Yeah.
And we were told by Tearfan, look, you just stay in Rwanda. We don't know what this COVID-19 thing is. Just stay there a
Right.
couple of weeks and we'll
Right.
work it out.
Right.
And 5 days later, all the borders across the world closed. So
My
we got
God.
stuck in Rwanda for 6 months. And in that time, the Bishop of Goma died of
Hmm.
COVID. I'd never met him, never met him, had a couple of
Wow.
conversations over WhatsApp. And so we didn't
Like,
know
what do
what
you
to do.
do?
So I contacted the Archbishop, who I'd also never met, and said, "Look, what do we do?" And he's like, "Well, come anyway." And so eventually we got over the border, and the Archbishop said, "Look, Martin, do nothing. Don't make any alliances with anyone. Don't take sides. Go to church. I'm coming." So he was a 2-hour flight away. So eventually he got here in October, and said, "Look, Martin, I just wanted to check you out, but this diocese has a huge amount of conflict,
Mm,
and I would like to appoint you as Vicar General. I'll be bishop, but I'll be bishop from a distance. So
mm.
can you just pacify the and prepare the diocese for the election of their next bishop?" So I thought that was really, really exciting. I thought this is great. Do that for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and then we'll elect the next bishop. I'll stay my third year, bed them in, and then we'll go back to the UK.
This deep abiding passion for being a peacemaker, but also for
Mm.
church planting. And one of the things that really blew me away was this how you just told stories about your diocese and the way it's kind of broken down into like different areas of opportunity. And so some of that's been surprising to you. And so tell us about what's happened in Welly Kelly and what that was like and what you saw there, what you didn't see there, and so people can understand.
Okay, so our diocese is large. That usually hits home more for Europeans. I think for Texans, large is
Okay, no,
relative.
I was gonna ask. Okay, say, let me just ask a clarifying question then. In comparison to the size of Texas, how big is your diocese?
Think it might be quite small, actually, John. But we're twice the size of Belgium, which for Europeans is big.
Yeah,
And we have seven archdeaconries. So the population is around 4 or 5 million.
yeah.
It's hugely spread out.
Hmm,
Seven archdeaconries, one of which is covers half of the diocese, and that's called Wally Kelly. So we've got 55 parishes, similar number of clergy, 100 schools.
hmm.
Uh, when I arrived, we had about 9,000 believers. Now we've got about 14. So there's significant growth, which is really exciting. But Wally Kelly, when someone first talked to me about Wally Kelly, apart from the name, which is brilliant, I asked, what was going on in Wally Kelly. So it itself has about less than 1 million people. It's a mining territory. It's got one of the largest tin mines in the world and hugely fertile, but people leave school. Boys leave school, end of primary, because they want to see if they can, earn a living, earn their fortune in the mines. So there's also diamond mines and artisanal gold mines. Some of the girls, they might be have 3 kids by the time they're 14, 15 by 3 different
Wow.
men.
Hmm.
And one of our clergy said that the men exchange women in Welly like they might exchange cigarettes. And its educational levels really low. There's not much development. There's not a huge amount of agriculture.
Hmm.
And we'd had one clergy there since 1994. He was sent there.
Wow.
He was sent there with less than a year's training. He was sent as a catechist, became evangelist, became deacon, priest, then archdeacon. And we had no idea what he did. So he would send reports that I were extremely dubious about all that was going on, the number of believers, and all the rest of it. I think on a good estimate is we had about 200 believers in Wally Kelly.
Wow.
I sent my diocesan secretary and another archdeacon on a recce mission, which sounds easy, but it takes 2 days to get there by motorbike. So sent them there and fully hoping, I would say, expecting that the report would come back to say, your Goma diocese is too young. We can't take on Wally Kelly. Let's consolidate what we've got. So Wally Kelly's surrounded by 5 other dioceses. So I'd already started to talk to bishops about which one might like to take it off my hands. But they came back with the report saying Wally Kelly has the most potential of anywhere in our diocese. Uh,
Wow.
there are very few church denominations. The Catholics maybe have a few parishes, the Baptists a few, but largely neglected. We need to do everything possible we can to invest in Welly Kelly. So that was 2021.
Hmm.
And since then, we have sent more than 20 men for ordination training.
Wow.
We have planted 17 churches, bought as many plots of land. We have built schools. We've built a guest house. And we're encouraging a high level of development. So land is cheap. We can buy land. Some land you can buy for a couple of goats, 3 hectares. Other land you have to actually pay real money for. But what really opened my eyes was when I went myself in
Mm.
2024. So we took the boat across the lake, we drove to the airport, we took a little plane, landed in a tin mine, and then drove to the center.
Yeah.
And 4 kilometers before we got to the center, I was told to stop to get out the car. And the Wally Kelly population with the brass band and the Anglicans and others accompanied us the last 4 kilometers, singing and dancing and playing. It was the first time an Anglican bishop had been to Welly Kelly in 30 years.
Wow. Bring back the parades, man. Come on, let's go.
It was insane. And we did 5 days of teaching on a healthy church. We commissioned 100 evangelists at the
Wow.
end, just those who'd done the training.
Yeah.
We confirmed 200 people. We baptized 100. We had campaigns in the marketplace. 500 came to faith. We did the second and third ever Anglican marriage in Welly Kelly in 30 years. And so what's super exciting for me is not just fulfilling the vision of church planting, but looking also at culture change.
Yeah.
So culture change, particularly in terms of relationships, but also as we train and equip and release and ordain the new evangelists and clergy, we're setting a new culture. So the
Mm.
one priest who was in Wali Kali, he retired
Mm.
against his will when we went there in 2024. But the other priest in Wali Kali, they hadn't spoken to each other in 7 years. So
Mm.
that was the old culture. So we're trying just to set a new culture
Mm.
of collaboration. So now those who are the evangelists, every 1 to 2 months, they'll do joint evangelism campaigns. They'll go round the
Yeah.
different parishes. And we are seeing incredible, incredible stories of people coming to faith.
Amazing.
So I'd love to share some of those with you.
Yeah, well, I know I want to hear those stories because this is what we're trying to do. We want to partner with Welly Kelly. You know, from the very beginning that our church plant got started, we just said, okay, there's lots of opportunities to give to various ministries across the world, but we felt called to limit our giving to just those that are actually planting churches and
Amen.
and to see what you're doing, especially in the whole diocese, of course, but in Welly Kelly in particular is remarkable. So what are some of the stories that you are dying to share with us?
Yeah, there's so many. It's incredible. So we have an evangelist now, priest called Innocent. I'll tell you his story later. But many of these stories come from his preaching of the gospel. There was a chief in the village of Basisi. Uh, he was a prophet of Yando, which is the local
Wow.
tribal deity. And before you preach the gospel, you need to ask the permission of the village chief. So Innocent went to him, shared with him from 1 John 5:11 and 12, said, God has given us eternal life, and this life is in his Son. Whoever has the Son has life. And
Wow.
asked permission to preach the gospel. Before he could preach the gospel, the village chief had accepted Jesus, as had his family, and has all the elders of that village. And then they went and got all of their charms, their fetishes used in witchcraft and serving and worshipping their divinity, and they burnt them all and prayed. And then they accompanied Innocent to the evangelistic campaign, and the chief opened the meeting. Instead of just introducing Innocent, he said this. He said, God is mighty and faithful. He's the King of Kings. He made me bow before Jesus Christ. And I, my family, and my elders said yes to Jesus today. Today I declare before you, I'm no longer a servant or prophet of Yando, neither is my household, but I've decided to serve the Lord and to do his will. And the villagers were utterly astonished. And that day, most of the village gave their lives to Jesus. There's
Mm.
a testimony of a brother, a young brother, who during another campaign in a village called Karumya, he said this, my heart was touched. I trembled. I lost balance when the preacher preached the good news. I felt he was talking about me. Then those who were going to receive Jesus Christ were called, and I knew Jesus was calling me, saying, "Come to me, come to me." I came quickly to meet Jesus. I was a witch doctor in the service of Satan. I'd sacrificed my life and my health and my family to our ancestral deities. But glory to God through Jesus Christ, I'm a Christian and I'm ready to serve him. And I'll give you one more. There's
Oh,
plenty where this came from. I give you one more. I'll give you two more actually, because one
you know
ends
what?
with the
Do it. Yes.
duet,
Give us multiple. That sounds
and
good.
then you can cut it as you see
Yeah,
fit. But,
yeah.
one guy said, "I've been in Mubi. That's one of them. That's the main city actually
Mm,
outside Welly Kelly Centre. I've been in Mubi for 8 years. I've always listened to the gospel, but I wasn't ready to respond. Even though I was teaching in Protestant schools, I was still living in sin. But by God's grace, I met an evangelist named Mpusu who spoke to me about Jesus. I confessed my sins. Now I'm a child of God. My father insisted that I renounce my faith, but I told him I'm ready to lose everything to gain Jesus. I was dismissed from my job because of my faith, but I'm happy because I'm saved. God is my father, and I thank the Lord for sending the Anglican Church to Wally Cali.
incredible.
And a
Incredible.
final one. I am Makindo Mutare, president of the youth of the village of Morojo, and I am the son of the village chief. After hearing testimonies from several neighboring villages and their leaders about what the Lord is doing through the Anglican Church, I humbly beg you to come and preach the gospel in our village as well. Our community is still under the influence of the ancestral deity called Kimbirigiti. We need Jesus Christ and to experience a spiritual transformation through him. So that's the Macedonian call
Mm,
really to Wali Kali. We've
yeah.
heard what God is doing in other villages. Come over and tell us. So we have 20 men, more than trained, 2 or 3 years of Bible training and ready to preach the gospel. We've got many more ready to join those evangelism teams. And they do it without salary. They do it because they
Mm,
love the Lord. They
yes.
farm the land, they sell what they have. They scrape together what little they can. The diocese helps them. There's a motorbike one for the whole diocese. And so we love the
Mm.
partnership with All Saints Conroe. We love your vision for church planting. I loved visiting you when you were there and seeing what God is doing in your church as well and your enthusiasm for partnering with us and just to be able to support these men and women who are giving their lives for Christ.
We want to be part of the movement that God is doing in the earth. And I think, especially as church planters in America, right, or in the West more generally, it just can be very expensive. It takes a lot of time. It takes a
Yeah.
ton of training to
Yeah.
build the kind of credibility people look for in a church plant, or even just a pastor in this area. It can be fatiguing in many ways.
Yeah.
But I think when we learn to partner with places like Welly Kelly, with your diocese, it actually has this sort of reverse effect where the impact that we have also impacts us and
Yeah.
gives us a new sense of
Yeah.
life and direction and purpose as well to continue on with the work, however difficult it is. And of course, like you said, these guys are not really funded
No.
to do the work that they're doing. They're just doing it. They didn't need the funding. They just said, we're just going to live as Christians in this area. And so even if it's like a little bit of giving, and people can give, they can go directly to TrustBridge, but they can also go to our giving website. There's a little drop down that says the cross for Welly Kelly, and because we're going to sell these little crosses,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
all
Right.
the
Thank
proceeds
you.
go to Welly Kelly, and it's just the first step. It's not very much, but we know that it can have an outsized impact in a
Mm.
place like Welly Kelly, like what you said. I think if people are listening, they're hearing that. this is still not a place being reached by the outside world very, very often. That they have yet to really construct these highways and ways of getting there. And so, in many ways, you can buy these properties because
Mm,
for cheap because the outside world isn't really there yet in a way that they're
mm,
in other parts of the Congo. And so, I just want to really challenge the people at home watching this to think and consider how can they make a huge impact in a place that is ripe with harvest. That this is, I mean, there and by the way, we want to visit, we want to go, but we know that we're going to figure out how that all works and how we can get there. But I want to really challenge our people to really consider, that the Christian movement is global. It is international. We are compelled and called upon by God to care for those across the world who are suffering for the gospel. And so I think as we prepare for our own movement here and as the Spirit is doing great things and baptizing and converting and all the great things that are happening here, let us not forget that there are people like Reverend Innocent who has just become a priest. And I think you were going to talk a bit about his story, and I really want you to, because these are not just amazing conversion stories of whole villages. But to me,
mm.
what really brought me to tears was reading Innocent's biography and his story. And so, can you tell us just very quickly a bit about him? Because you were going to come back to that.
Yeah, innocent. If I could have just 10 innocents in the diocese of Goma, we could do so much. He's our main evangelist to Wali Kali, and he started before he was ordained,
Mm,
and he has not had an easy life. So when he was 2, his father was abducted, and they don't know where he was taken, and he was presumed dead from that day. And he was brought up by his mother in a family with already a number of children. And one day after school, or it was during school, he didn't quite get to school. It was age 9. He was sent home because his mum couldn't pay the fees.
mm.
And so he went home and he went into his mum's bedroom, and there was his dad's Bible next to his bed. And I don't even think that he opened it. I don't think he opened it. He just looked at it and was challenged by it. But he made a pact with God that day.
Huh.
And he said to God, if you help me to study when I grow up, I am going to serve you and I'm going to proclaim you to the nations. And then he forgot. And he continued. But then he tells the story that, within a few days, a lady came to their house
Mm.
and felt prompted to pay for innocent school fees for the rest
Wow.
of his time in school. So
Wow.
she saw him through to the end of secondary school. And the family was a Christian family. They'd always pray before sleeping, and his mother always sang the same song. It was in Kinyarwanda, because their family had come a couple of generations ago from Rwanda.
Right.
And the song that they sang was how Jesus had given everything on the cross for them, and what were they going to give him in return? And it was one night, he was aged 12, and she was singing this song. And for the first time, he must have heard it 1,000 times. He was overwhelmed by the truth of Jesus' sacrifice for him. And he he started to cry. And
Wow.
then his mum put him to bed and prayed for him. And that night, when he was 12, he had a dream. And he had a dream. He saw a man dressed in white with a scroll in his hand, saying, "Come over." No, sorry, I'll start that one again. He had a dream, and he saw a sandy road leading to a mountain, and he heard the sound of instruments and of people singing hymns. And as he got closer, that's when he saw the man dressed in a white cassock, face shining brightly. And he called Innocent by his name, and he gave him a scroll containing the scriptures, and he showed him a village far away, and he said, "Go and bring those people this scroll." And in the morning, he explained the dream to his mother, and they went to see the pastor. And the pastor explained that God was calling him as an evangelist. And that day, he gave his life to Christ, and he has never, ever looked back. So I didn't know this about Innocent when I first met him. I didn't know this about Innocent when he first started going to Wally Kelly. And we send him there 3 or 4 times a year. He takes the motorbike, takes him 2 or 3 days to get there and 2 or 3 days to get back. He preaches the gospel along the way. But when I then read or heard his story after he'd been going to Wally Kelly for a while, it all made perfect sense that he was called clearly by God and he has spent his life obeying that call.
What is it, the one thing you desire from our partnership? What is it that you're asking for?
So I love the fact that you're interested in what goes on in Wally Kelly. I love the fact that when we tell stories, you get excited. That encourages me personally no end. And when I share that with people here in Goma, that a church in Texas is excited about what God is doing in Wally Kelly, it blows their minds. So just being interested and through that interest, praying for us. We really, really value partnership and prayer and financial
Mm,
support that you're willing to say, look, we believe
yeah.
in what you're doing in church planting. We believe that what we give can go a long, long way. 50 to $100 is essentially what an evangelist needs per month to live off, really. They could always do with more, but it's a great amount, and it isn't enough
Yeah.
to encourage them as well in Wally Cali. That it's a global church, and it's one of the joys and the beauties of Anglicanism. We're all around the world, and the Anglican brothers and
Yes.
sisters in the States are praying for and giving to the mission of our archdeaconry in the forest, where we're still reaching people
Mm,
who've never heard the name of Jesus. And God is doing incredible things
mm.
in villages. It's hugely encouraging, as you said, John, for both sides. I mean, I'm encouraged by what goes on in Welly Kelly, and I'm encouraged by your partnership. So I get to be in the middle and get encouraged by both sides. And I think that's what partnership
Yeah.
in the gospel looks like. And I rejoice and
Yep.
thank God
Amen.
for this partnership.
Absolutely. We are all in, and so I hope that people will actually take the time to look more into what's going on in your part of the world, and give and support the work of gospel ministry and Welly Kelly. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. God bless you.